Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Woodward and Mane Street. I am Gabrielle Dee Phillips, alongside me Matt Broder.
Good morning. Oh, sorry.
Terry Foster.
We're in trouble today. We got to talk about a Lions game where nothing happened.
We have a big Lions game to talk about. We don't have time to cover Michigan football, but congratulations.
Thank you. Go blue. Go blue. I know this is a Lions show, but shout out to the boys in blue.
It wouldn't be complete without you on the desk, at least mentioning the win that you were here to witness, less than 12 hours ago?
Oh, yeah. Just a few hours ago. What a great victory for Michigan. Tough weekend for the Lions, though. I know that there's our Michigan talk for the day. Man,
tune back into Woodward Nights to hear all of Matt's takes on what happened in the Michigan game, but we have a lot to get into covering the Lions, what happened down in Jerry World, and what needs to happen down in Jerry World moving forward, and what needs to happen in Allen Park.
Yeah.
As the Lions have to take on the Vikings once again, and they have not beat an NFC North team twice this season. They have not swept any of their NFC North opponents. So, big game still coming up this week. We're going to jump right into it, and I have to know, first of all, if I could have put a camera in each of your houses just on during right when the ending of the game happened, what was your initial reaction?
Wow. I mean, I was excited until you see that yellow flag thrown. There was a camera shot where they're huddling and there's a flag in the background of the referees. I was kind of blown away. I was like, wait, was that Taylor Decker? Was that Penei Sewell? Like, who was that who caught that pass? And then you see it's Taylor Decker. With everything going on the last couple of weeks, Taylor Decker winning the NFC North, it was like, that was the most beautiful play I've ever seen. Like, oh, Dan Campbell's a genius going for the win at the end of that game. And then all of a sudden it was heartbreak. It was all that energy just gets sucked out. It's just like, oh, did that happen again at AT&T?
Yeah, so you would have been disappointed in my reaction. Mine was like, damn.
Not that much.
No,
Hey?
it wasn't. I don't give the Lions my emotion.
Yeah.
Except on this show with you guys.
Okay.
That's it.
We appreciate that.
Okay.
I was all up and down riding the roller coaster, as many Lions fans have, and I had to call my mom after the game to check in on my dad and say, is Dad having an ulcer? Because I just needed to make sure he's okay, and then I can go to bed. But crazy ending, and an ending that I think has now taken over completely, and I don't think anyone is talking much about the rest of the game as they are the ending, because it was so catastrophic.
Well, that's because it looks like, they'll probably change rules again for the Lions. And the Lions have a tough time in Dallas, not with the Dallas Cowboys, but with the Dallas referees. And I just remember in 2014 playoff game, pass to what was it?
Pettigrew? Was it Pettigrew?
Yeah, Pettigrew. That's right.
85.
Pass to Pettigrew, and penalty. We're going to pick up the flag.
Just kidding.
Right. And then you look at the play, that was a penalty. And so the Lions got screwed by the refs that time. And we're always looking for conspiracy theories. Most of them I don't believe in, but I understand why Lion fans are like, they're out to get us.
Right.
In this case, I don't think they were out to get you. I just think there was a referee, who had a bad moment as a referee. And so it ended up costing them the Lions.
So you don't think that it was deliberate?
No, I think my man was just caught up in the moment. And we're talking about the 2-point play. There's so many things to talk about. When Taylor Decker reports, the eligible man, the referee is looking at Skipper come in off the bench. So I'm thinking, is this his girlfriend or something? Why is he looking at Skipper and Taylor and
That's a
Taylor
big girlfriend.
Decker?
That is a huge girlfriend.
Penei Sewell are right in front of him. and he's looking at Skipper like, hey, what's up, my man?
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. He heard Decker, or maybe he didn't hear him, but he's looking at Skipper, and Skipper's already reported as an eligible receiver prior to that, and so he just assumed it was 70.
Yeah.
So he screwed up.
Yeah. I don't think it was malicious either, but the problem with it all is doubling down on it wasn't even a missed call. It was a mistake. It was a blown assignment I've heard people talk about. It was the ref screwed up, and he dug himself a hole telling the Dallas defense it was number 70. But to go back and double down in the pool report and everything the NFL is saying after the game, just own up to your mistake.
He had to lie.
That's the thing. It turned into a lie once he doubled down.
Right.
It turned from a mistake to, all right, a lie.
Afterwards.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people in Detroit, it would be a miserable loss anyway to go down like that. But if they admitted their mistake, I think we would be over it already. I mean, we saw what happened with Jim Joyce, and a lot of people have brought that up. But him actually just coming out and saying that's almost like a revered moment in history now, where I think positively of the Armando Galarraga perfect game that Jim Joyce missed a call on, not that one game that this bad on. It's one of those things. Just come out and admit you screwed up.
What he needs to do, admit his mistake, and then he does the game at Ford Field next year. Him and Jared Goff or Decker or Skipper, whoever, they hug in the middle of the field. That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's not going to happen, especially.
But hey, I can always hope with stuff.
After seeing the emotions coming off of the field and in the locker room and in their press conferences following, and then obviously Dan Campbell's press conference yesterday that kind of blew the cap off of everything that had happened. He went in there, I think, with a very different game plan than what actually happened. And obviously
In the media room,
you guys have plenty of questions to ask about what went down with that missed call. And everyone's now had, their time to ruminate and pull their questions together. And no one's feeling the emotions as much. Okay, maybe we'll get more of what went down. And Dan Campbell wanted nothing to do with it. How was the energy in that room yesterday, Matt?
It started so high, well, there was a lot of tension in the room, and then Dan Campbell came in a pretty good mood. Like he was genuinely over it. As hard as that would be to do, he was past it. I don't know how he didn't think he was going to get questions about the play, but when he first started with his opening statement, he was talking about the game and the positives and negatives, things we need to clean up, and then the questions started coming. You just see him each minute, each second, his face just starts to drop and he starts getting irritated, and he eventually shared that. He's like, we're past this. Like, I moved on. Like, I don't want to take any more questions, and people kept trying to, but as we're supposed to, we need to get some of these answers, or at least his opinion, and he didn't really give us much, but I took out of it on a positive side that I mean, that's the guy you would want leading your team. You want a guy who can put that behind him. That's why I'm not the head coach, because it's still frustrating to me and a lot of other fans out there. So I understood him. There's still some more questions from the game that I want to know about, but we weren't able to get those yesterday.
Yeah, we didn't care about the game at this point on Monday. This was like I'm not gonna call it the play of the season for all of the NFL, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah,
and maybe it was. But he has to understand that he may be over it, but we're not over it. The fans are not over it.
Yeah.
And even if you talk about the game, you're over that too. So that's an excuse from Dan Campbell, because he just didn't want to talk about it. Even in the press conference after the game, he said, "I don't want to talk about it." Duh. Really? Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to talk about it, bro.
Yeah, because I wanted to hear more of. I want to hear about his decision making after the play. I want to hear more. That play is a huge part, but I think once the questions started getting asked, once he started to get irritated, I don't know if we ran out of time, but I wanted to see. All right, would there have been a cutoff of when you would have kicked the extra point versus going for 2?
Yeah.
Like, what was the thought process going for 3 times? Like, at some point. I know a lot of people think maybe he should have kicked the extra point. I don't know. It's tricky, but I want to hear more about that stuff. I want to hear what was going through his head. The thing that keeps getting lost. What a perfect play. What an incredible play design. Run to perfection. That's frustrating. It's like, oh, you did it, and it's Taylor Decker?
Yeah.
It was the perfect
and it's
ending.
spoiled like that.
Perfect. Now we're not even talking about seeding. It was huge in terms of playoff seeding, but man, what a perfectly executed play from the start.
Were you surprised that Dan Campbell decided to go for 2 points?
No. I was surprised he went for 2 points when they had the ball at the 7-yard line.
Yes.
To me, that's a stubborn man. I said I'm going for 2. I don't care if we go back to the 50, the 40.
Yeah.
I'm going for 2.
Okay.
So kiss my ass. That's basically what he said. The first time, no. I expected him to go for 2. I thought once they went back to the 7, he said, okay, I tried my little games. Didn't work. We'll go for 1. And then he still had another opportunity. Once he was back at the 3, I knew he was going back for the 2.
Right.
Yeah.
He may as well at that point.
The problem there is the play call I didn't like. The running a play designed for your number 3 tight end. No offense to James Mitchell. I don't know why you run that play, which is already, if you've got a list of not scripted, but a list of your 2-point conversion plays, rank from first to least. Like, he was on at least they had already run 2 or 3 2-point conversions attempts. So to run that one, I don't know if I agree with that play call, but
No. Be strong. Say it was a bullshit call.
it was.
Don't give me that. Oh, I don't think that was a good call.
And
it was awful.
Jared Goff underthrew that ball too. If he leads Jay
Really
Mitchell,
low.
that might be a 2-point conversion.
It might be, or it may have been short. Now, I don't know if you've heard of this guy. If I'm going to pass to a tight end, there's a young man called Sam Edward Laporta. Why not throw to him?
Or
Why not have him in that position?
Is that confirmed? Do we know that it is Edward? Middle name Edward. Can
I
anyone
just
give us
made
a
it up.
confirmation? Okay, I thought so, but I mean, it fit.
It's probably Alfonso.
Okay.
Sam Alfonso Laporta.
Right.
Let's do that. Or St. Brown. I'm on St. Brown. Like, you have your favorite, the smallest tight end in the league.
Right.
Joseph.
St. Brown.
Joseph, okay.
There we go. Got an answer.
Sammy
Thank
Joseph
you,
Yeah.
Laporta.
Or how about David Montgomery? Let's run it up the middle with David Montgomery.
You know, bro, I would have rather have Taylor Decker trying to catch that ball than
Then James Mitchell?
Yeah.
Taylor Decker, he was 1 for 1 on those plays leading up to it at Seattle at the end of the 2021 season. They ran the exact same play. Like, this should not have been new to the referees.
No. Shouldn't have been new because they also went over it at the beginning of the game. But we're being very pessimistic, so I want to get into our pessimistic and optimistic that we talked about in the last show. Don't worry, there'll be plenty of talk about that last series throughout the entire show. But pessimistic, Matt, you said that Jared Goff needs to take care of the ball.
Yeah, and he didn't. And they lost.
Yeah.
Regardless of how it happened, this is what happens when you turn the ball over. And those are 2 critical interceptions from Jared Goff. He didn't have his best game. There are a lot of things to pick apart, but he did lead them back at the end, which I think is huge. But when you turn the ball over twice, especially in those moments, it's just too hard to come back from. And that's why they lost. Part of the reason, most of the reason. And Derek Barnes needs to sack Dak Prescott.
Yeah, that is true. But I thought there was a significant statement the Lions made. We're not punks. Excuse me. They played Dallas toe-to-toe and technically won the game.
Yes.
And but then they had it taken away from them. So I think the Lions have shown that they're a dangerous team. I wish they would be going into this playoffs with the number 2 seed because they may have a shot at going all the way. I don't think they can do it from the 3 seed now.
It's going to be difficult, although the path that it's lining up, not only there could be some quality storylines associated with it, but I don't mind it anymore. It's like this team, I wouldn't want to play this team, especially after what happened. So it looks to be, there could be a second-round matchup, should both teams get to the second round back at AT&T Stadium. And if you're going to travel somewhere, that's the one place, at this moment, that is the one place I would want to travel to. That team's not losing in Dallas again.
Now let's jump to the optimistic, and I'm going to go right back to you, Matt, because you had said that they need to involve J-Mo in this, and they did just that, and J-Mo had a fantastic game. Obviously now dealing with some ankle injuries, which Dan Campbell has said is day to day. But we finally I feel like we're to a point where we expect J-Mo to be involved game to game, and we're getting that, and he is putting in that work, and he is now showing up in a way that I think everyone has been waiting since he was drafted.
Yeah, I love it. They tried to get him involved in multiple ways. He's running normal receiver routes.
Yeah.
That reverse to J-Mo. If Jordan Lewis, the cornerback for the Cowboys, doesn't make that tackle, which was an incredible play, J-Mo's going to the house. He had Penei Sewell and I think Skipper paving a huge hole, paving a way to the end zone. I think it's another Saints-like reverse for J-Mo. And then that 63-yard bomb from Jared Goff to J-Mo where he got hurt. That's where Deron Bland, Defensive Player of the Year candidate, I'll remind you all, on Jamison Williams. J-Mo blows by him. Jared Goff heaves it up. Apparently, he couldn't throw the ball 63 yards. That was a really nice throw. J-Mo catches it, and what a play. Doing stuff like that opens up the offense. That allows them to do plays like that. Opened up that final drive of the game. You gotta worry about that speed, even though I guess J-Mo wasn't on the field that last drive. What that does to a defense when you get beat like that, it changes your whole outlook. And they were more conservative that last drive. I devote that a lot to J-Mo and what they did with some of their skilled players on the outside.
What I've been saying all year. Just fly.
Just fly.
And they called that play. They called my play, and it worked. Just say, dude.
Just fly.
Fly.
But then
We'll
you
get you the
also
ball.
said in our last show, just run the ball. And were you pleased with how the Lions' run game panned out during this game?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I thought they put up yards, but there were too many negative plays. So it's kind of where sometimes you just can't quantify something by stats. When you look at the number, yeah, it was good. But when you look at the negative plays that took them out of first down situations, it wasn't. So it was a mixed bag.
It's been a while since we've seen that many defensive linemen in the backfield for the Lions.
Right.
Usually they push the other way, and the Lions are at least getting 2 or 3 yards at minimum. Seemed like there were a lot of 0 yardage, -2 yard plays that really killed them.
-4, -5, -7. I mean,
And
keep going.
And then when Jameer breaks he breaks his 34-yard run. James Mitchell penalty, a holding penalty, brings it back. So every time there were a couple times throughout the game they gained some momentum that were called back because of penalties. It was a polarizing roller coaster of a game, that's for sure.
Well, there's plenty to get into aside from what happened to close out the game. And we're going to get into what the players did to make this so close and what the coaches did. So stick with us, and we'll be right back here on Woodward and Main Street.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Broder and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Broder and Broder.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Welcome back. This is Woodward and Main Street, your Lions Insider Show here on Woodward Sports Network. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips. Alongside me, as always, Matt Broder.
Good morning.
Terry Foster.
Happy New Year.
Good day.
We are in the new year. We are in the second segment, and we are getting ready for the Lions to maybe potentially have a win. But I see you eyeing something, Matt. And I do have to point out that we are very grateful to Les Stanford for sponsoring this show and making this show possible. So thank you, Les Stanford, for sticking with us even when we do have to cover a Lions loss. So let's
I'm
get
still
into
going to have a blast.
Yeah, you should. As we should. You know
Yeah.
what? We say it's not that fun to cover a Lions loss, but at least it's fun to be on this show together.
That's right. We got each other.
I'm learning from Terry about controlling your emotions. You know, just accepting what Lions fandom does to a human being.
Oh yeah. So let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's talk about the players and what made this game what it was. So first of all, who were you expecting more from on the Lions roster this game?
Honestly, I was expecting more out of Jared Goff. I thought he was going to have a performance that could kick him into the MVP conversation, into the top 5 maybe conversation. And with the Lions win, you think about them at 12-5. You got a quarterback in the top 3 of a lot of major statistics. And he didn't play so great. He missed a lot of throws. He missed more throws than normal. I still have confidence in Jared Goff, and we'll get into that because of how he led the team at the end of the game. But it just seemed like there was not really a lot of rhythm. It was tough. There was pressure on him all day, and although I do believe it was the worst game of the season for Jonah Jackson and Graham Glasgow, that interior of the offensive line, I think you still got to find. We got enough weapons. There's enough things that Ben Johnson could have done to get the ball out of his hands faster, make a few better throws. So I'll go with Jared Goff.
Trick question, young lady.
Oh.
Who did I expect more, or who did I want to see more from? I wanted to see more from Jared Goff.
Yes.
But I didn't expect it.
Okay.
I expected pretty much what you saw with him on the road against Dallas, who's been mollywopping everybody. I didn't expect a great game from him, but to be a little bit, I wanted him to be a little bit more competent and not turn the ball over.
So then who did you expect more from? If you wanted more from Jared Goff, who did you expect more from?
I didn't expect more from anybody. I thought they pretty much played a solid game. It's difficult in Dallas. You're not going to play your best game there because, they're smashing people. So I guess my expectations were pretty much met. In my mind, they won the damn game.
Yeah.
21-20.
Yeah. I expected more out of that offensive line.
Okay.
I didn't think it was their best game. In fact, I thought, like I just said, I thought it was Glasgow and Jonah Jackson's worst game. All that pressure. DeMarcus Lawrence 8. He had himself a day versus Jared Goff. And I thought they did a pretty good job defending Micah Parsons. Penei Sewell, Parsons was everywhere. He didn't make the biggest impact on the game. Obviously, they had to focus on him. But all those, anytime there was a drive killer or Jared Goff sack or a run stuffed, even Sam Laporta as an extension of that offensive line, they missed a couple assignments that allowed Dallas to shut down that offense.
Well, you know what happened with Micah Parsons? I thought he was dominant. But when he lined up against Penei Sewell basically grabbed him by the head and gave him a swirly or whatever. What's that thing called?
A
noogie.
A noogie. Gave him noogies all night. But when he lined up in other places, he was right there. David Montgomery get the ball. He's like, okay, dude, you going to come past me? What's up? So Micah Parsons was a dominant player, but Penei Sewell was too. But we don't notice it as much because he's the offensive lineman. But when Micah Parsons, he was working hard against Penei Sewell, and he couldn't get anywhere.
Another dominant player on the Cowboys was CeeDee Lamb, who arguably had his best game of his career.
Wow.
On Saturday. Could you be more impressed by his performance in this game?
I could. I was impressed with it. In the Lions defense, I thought played a great game, except for their coverage on CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
And even if you take away the 92-yard touchdown, which whether you say Derek Barnes should have sacked Dak Prescott or Jake Campbell has helped, whatever you say, that obviously helps the statistics. But when they needed a big play, they went to CeeDee Lamb and he made them. He is a number 1 wide receiver. I see why now. And he ate that defense alive. Cam Sutton, although he had a big game tackling, he seemed kind of out of sorts. He wasn't his sort of little squirrely dominant self, his pestering cornerback skills. CeeDee Lamb took over, and that was their offense. That was it. They did everything else.
Cam Sutton got abused.
He did.
He did, man. He just got to be. There was one play who was all turned around. He didn't know where
third down. That was a third down.
Right.
He was like, he didn't know what to do, and that's something that Cam Sutton doesn't do. He doesn't get confused like that. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you did right. But he got. We used to call, like, when we played basketball and some guy is scoring like 30 points on somebody, that's what CeeDee Lamb did on him. Instead of he put a 50 burger, it'd be 50 points. So yeah, it was. I have not seen a wide receiver do that in a while.
We got the Lions. They've been letting number one wide receivers beat them up a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's throughout the season or even just the last couple weeks, something they're going to have to think about heading into the playoffs too. You might have another run in with CeeDee Lamb. We got the Vikings coming up week 18. Justin Jefferson is back in Ford Field where he had over 200 yards last season. So they got to figure out how to defend that with Cam Sutton, with these new safeties involved. When CeeDee Deuce gets back, although I give props to Aaron Glenn for that game. That was a really strong game out of the defense. The work is yet to be done. They got to figure out what to do about stopping a number one.
And maybe they needed this to expose that weakness, even though we kind of already knew it was already there. Just seeing, like, really when you're going up against somebody that powerful, you can't expect him to fault.
Yeah.
And I think they maybe thought, well, if we can at least slow him down a little bit, maybe he'll teeter, and he did not.
No, he set this game up a couple weeks ago when he was ignored in games, and he's like, look, I can do more. So sometimes in the NFL, if you are a wide receiver, we always call them divas, but sometimes it's good to bitch. Sometimes it's good to bitch and say, hey, I'm here, give me the ball, and ride my coattails. That's what CeeDee Lamb said.
Yeah.
And so
You called
then they're
it.
like, okay, yeah, that's right. You are on the team. You are good, so we're going to go to you. So I think CeeDee Lamb set this game up a couple weeks ago by bitching.
Yeah. And you called it because you said that is exactly what was going to happen in this game, and clearly the Lions did not get your memo.
Right. And, and I know you guys disagree, but I think J-Mo should bitch too.
Yeah,
At some point.
Even though he's trending in a more positive direction, you still think he should bitch.
I think the next evolution of J-Mo, I get where Terry's going. You want him to act like a number one, not a number one to mess up the locker room vibes and the culture.
Yeah.
He's proven, especially this year, that he's a good teammate. He's devoted to this Lions message and this culture. I think there comes a time, and it may be coming soon, where it's like, all right, we're better when you start involving me, however he wants to say it. Start acting like that number one.
Yeah, sometimes it's how you say it and the words you use. But you're saying the same thing. Get me the damn ball. But you can always say, well, if you get me the ball, I think I can make this a better offense. I want us to win. I want us to score 50 points a game or whatever. But there are opportunities out there that we're leaving on the field. I want to be a part of this greatness.
I don't remember the exact quote, but I think that's sort of how CeeDee Lamb handled it with the Cowboys. It wasn't a yelling match on the sideline.
No.
I wish I remember, but
it
was
weird. It was weird is how he said it.
Oh, okay.
It was weird in his press conference afterwards, or it wasn't a press conference. Maybe it was just in the locker room afterwards. He said, it was weird. I had a really good first quarter and didn't see the ball at all in the second or third. That's what was weird.
Yeah.
Right.
And then just left it at that.
Fair.
But it was enough.
Coaches are not perfect. I think they ignore, or I'm not going to say ignore, forget. They forget their star wide receivers. Because one, you do want to run the football. B, I think the coach's mindset is we want to spread the wealth so the defense doesn't know where we're going. And then, but what you do in turn is you ignore your number one receiver.
Or maybe in Ben Johnson's case, at the goal line, you ignore your number one goal line running back. I swear, if I see another shotgun formation and a little delay handoff to Jahmyr Gibbs at the goal line, I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah, what is up with that play? It takes Jared Goff like 10 seconds to give him the ball.
Yeah.
And then by the time he gets it, the defense is like, okay, bro, where you going? Not past me.
Didn't make any sense. They did it 4 straight times. They actually, Michigan was lined up that way last night, and right when they did, I'm like, this better not be happening again. But however they ran it, there was the momentum that J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum, they get going towards the line of scrimmage, and the offensive line was getting that push. The Lions weren't getting that, and they called a play that was slow developing from the start. Why not just at the 2-yard line? Give it to David Montgomery, hand it off, go right behind Frank Ragnow, the number one center in the league, or Penei Sewell, the guy we're talking about locking up Micah Parsons, the best offensive lineman in the league. Just sometimes I think it just needs to be. I love Ben Johnson, don't get me wrong, but there's times if I were an OC, just simplify it. Use your big boys and run.
But you know what? When you try to trick the defense sometimes you fool yourself.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
I like that.
And you can write that down and put it in the Dan Campbell cocktail book that we're going to come out with.
Exactly. Before we close out this player segment, I do have to know, after this performance, can you trust Jared Goff in the playoffs?
Yes. All you got to look at is that last drive.
Okay.
You got a guy capable of coming in a hostile environment, capable of leading their team back. Jared Goff can do that. And we're talking leading this team, leading this playoffs. We're not talking contract extension, long-term with the Lions. We'll see. But to lead this team, yeah, it's very similar. I don't mean to keep talking about Michigan. Very similar to J.J. McCarthy, where the success of these teams, they fall on the quarterback. And J.J. McCarthy didn't play that well, but when they needed him, just like Jared Goff.
We don't care about Michigan on this show.
I'm comparing Jared Goff and his
You sound
leadership.
like Maz talking about the Yankees.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's the leadership ability. Quarterback, if they can. I would rather have a guy who can play his best when you need it the most, versus playing it for 58 minutes and then playing your worst when you need it. Jared Goff can lead this team. I'm not concerned about him at all.
I not only have faith in Jared Goff, but I have more faith in this team now, based on that last game.
Why, Terry?
Because they went to a place where people not only don't win, they don't even compete there. They went there and competed. They went there and in many circles, because you could say they won the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that shows me they're not afraid of anything. Dan Campbell had, said that he's not. This game is motivated him. It's got him all fired up, and he's ready to go. And so he's projecting that to the rest of his team. Hey, fellas, we got screwed, but you know what? We're gonna come out of this better.
Definitely.
Yeah, because sometimes when you have, I'm gonna put this in a foresty way. Like the forest. The forest is nice and plush and green. Mm-hmm. But forest fires, which are destructive and mean, are good for the forest. So this,
interesting,
because then the little acorns come out and the new plants come up.
New life?
Maybe, new life. Maybe this is the forest fire that the Lions needed for the playoffs.
I happen to agree with you 100%. I don't like how it played out, but if you could use anything to your advantage, it's this.
And we're going to get into that in the last segment. So there's a little bit of a teaser, but we have to cover the coaches that made this game what it was. Stick with us here, and we'll be back in the next segment.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Welcome back. This is Woodward and Main Street, your Lions Insider Show here on Woodward Sports Network. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, Terry Foster, here to recap the Lions going to Dallas and the controversial game that has now taken all of sports media by storm. And this is only made possible because of Les Stanford. So thank you, Les Stanford, for making this show possible, as well as Kool-Aid and Jeremy for coming out early this morning and making this show happen. So we've covered the players, we've covered this controversial play, plenty, and the controversial call, plenty. I want to get in more to the coaches.
Line.
Really, because got to talk about this whole Ben Johnson versus Aaron Glenn. And I feel like we're having a much different conversation than we were at the beginning of the season, than we were last season. Who were you more impressed by in this game, Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn?
You want this tea?
Aaron Glenn, easily. Because the Dallas Cowboys have been averaging 40 points a game at home. And outside of CeeDee Lamb, did anybody else play? Dak Prescott made an amazing play when he escaped Derek Browers in the end zone and hit CeeDee Lamb with that 92-yard pass. That was a man's play that he was able to do. But other than that, I mean, Dallas was all right offensively. They didn't do anything spectacular. They still couldn't run the ball.
Yeah.
And outside of CeeDee Lamb, and there was a couple other plays from other players that were impressive. But if you can hold somebody to 20 points in the National Football League, your defense is doing something.
Definitely. Especially that team in Dallas. They average almost 40 points in that stadium. You hold them to 20, you got to win that game, especially when your offense averages what it does. So it was definitely Aaron Glenn. I thought he had that offense off balance most of the game. There were a lot of Dallas couldn't do anything on first down. They shut down the run, but they shut down everything on first down. That put them in tough situations all night long. So that defense showed me something before even getting James Houston, Aleem McNeil, C.D. Deuce, C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. That defense showed me they can play with some teams. They can play in the playoffs. That defense is not going to be not going to be the reason they lose.
So does this raise Aaron Glenn in the conversations for potential head coaches next season?
I always thought Aaron Glenn should be considered for head coach anyway, even with his defensive struggles. I see him almost as a better head coach than a defensive coordinator in some ways, and I don't know all the ins and outs of scheming up defenses and everything it takes to be a coordinator, but he's such a strong leader. I don't want to take anything away from Ben Johnson, though. It wasn't his best game. I thought they should have I didn't like a lot of the play calling, a lot of the stuff at the goal line, a lot of the timing of when Jahmyr Gibbs was in there and David Montgomery and some of the pass plays they were calling for Jared Goff early in drives. But Aaron Glenn definitely outperformed maybe all four coordinators in that game.
Yeah, Ben Johnson is the hot name for head coach. But I think if you get Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn in a room and interview, Aaron Glenn is going to come off more impressive.
Okay.
So
that's a good point.
Aaron Glenn is not out of the conversation for being a head coach.
Yeah. Eduardo O'Neill in the chat says we got too cute. What was working was running up the middle, and we stopped it. You're right. It's sort of a change in strategy. Ben Johnson. Actually, I'm impressed with Dan, who was the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Really, some of these defensive coordinators in the NFL, Ben Johnson's a really smart guy, and even them picking up on some of his tendencies, he's getting a little predictable, which is something I never thought I'd say about Ben Johnson. But NFL DCs, they're talented, and they've learned to adjust to him. Sorry, AG. They learned to adjust to Ben Johnson. So I am not worried about the offense or Ben Johnson. He's just got to continue to elevate his game, continue to take it to that next level. I don't want to underestimate, though, how perfect that play at the end of the game was. Like, designed, executed, everything. I don't want to hear anything about the Lions getting what's the word? Deceitful to the referees.
Or too cute.
Too cute. Yeah. There were some things they did in the game that were too cute, but that play was perfect. They did everything they should have done to perfection.
Moving to another DC, MCDC, do you think that in this season, in this postseason, he will go for another 2-point conversion after what happened?
Yes.
I'd be stunned if he didn't. This is who the man is. My problem wasn't him going for two. It was him going for 2-3 times.
Yeah.
That middle, when you're at the 7-yard line, just say, you know what? I want to be aggressive. I want to show the men I believe in them. I want to do all this and rah, rah, rah. But then get sensible and kick the 1-pointer.
What about, question posed to you guys, what about when the same drive in the second quarter when they had the fake punt, Jalen Reeves-Maybin throws it to Khalil Dorsey, they end up driving down and have the chance to take a field goal.
Yeah.
And they opt to go for it. Are you kicking that field goal there? Do you trust Michael Badgley? Do you trust your special teams unit? Or is this just Dan Campbell being Dan Campbell?
It really seems like he doesn't trust Michael Badgley.
It doesn't.
That's what this all seems like. He could have gone for it and kicked it and gone into overtime. So at the end there, is the lack of trust stronger with Badgley, or is it the lack of trust for the Lions to be able to get it done in overtime?
Yeah.
What one is the one that kind of outweighed that decision?
I don't think either one played a factor. I just think this man is a gunslinger.
Yeah.
And this is who he is. I mean, when you go for it at the 7-yard line, you just are basically telling the world, kiss my ass, I'm going to do what I feel like doing, and you can't talk to me.
And I have to go back to that fake bump because I don't think anyone was expecting that. And I'm by now, especially that Monday Night Football crew, they should have known what Dan Campbell does, and they didn't. And they didn't even have the cameras ready to show the fake punt. It like cut to it afterwards. I'm like, people need to know Dan Campbell and who he is and that this was possible in this game. And he surprises everyone.
He does. And you know what? And we're not going to say it because it worked, but that was a dumb play. That was a dumb decision to make at that time in the game and where you were on the field. You could have flipped it all the way to Dallas's side. But once again, when Dan Campbell gambles, it's a great play when it works. It's a dumb decision when it doesn't.
Yeah.
That was a dumb decision, but it worked.
And it worked.
So we're not going to talk about it.
So true.
Rapid fire here. If the Lions were to win and you were a coach and you were Dan Campbell, who would you have given your game ball to? Rapid fire.
Wow. Maybe Aiden Hutchinson.
Yep.
He had himself a game, 3 sacks. He filled up the stat sheet, but it was great to see him back. And there were big plays too. Like he was a very important piece of that. That's who I'll go with right off the cusp.
No, I'd give it to Hutch too, because he made his sacks when the game was in doubt.
Yeah.
They were important. They were impactful. There wasn't the Aiden Hutchinson, okay, already losing by 10 with 4 seconds left, so I'm going to get this big sack now.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't count. He got them in prime time, and he affected the game. So I'm going to go Hutch too.
I think I would pick Hutch and make it 3 across the board if I'm
right.
picking another player so that we can have a little bit of diversity into
We
the
got
bunch.
more balls to give out. So
Yeah.
that's what you're saying.
Yeah. I would give it to St. Brown.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he had a very good performance in that game, faced a little bit of adversity and still showed up, put some great stats on the board once again. But
that's a big touchdown.
if I'm not going to cheat, it's going to Hutchinson.
No, I tell you what, I'm going to do something we've never done on the show.
Really?
I would give my second game ball to an offensive lineman.
Really?
Which one?
Penei Sewell. I thought what he did with Micah Parsons was fantastic.
Yeah.
Because when Parsons was somewhere else, he was affecting the game. When he's over there with Penei Sewell, he's giving him a swirly or a noogie.
A nookie.
Right.
Maybe both.
And, he stuck his head in the toilet. But, yeah, I didn't even see him. I saw him scrambling and trying to do something, but basically he was put in the box. Penei Sewell took the key, locked the box, and ate it.
Yeah. I hope, just to revert back to Hutch for a second, I hope everybody who has been calling for sacks and claiming Aiden Hutchinson is a bust because he doesn't have a million sacks, I hope you give him your flowers today.
Give him the credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
We're going to cover what's to come. What is to come? What is to come for the Lions? That's to come in the next segment. So stick with us, and we're going to close out the show here next.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, two of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Broder and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Broder and Broder.
Welcome back to Woodward and Main Street, your Lions Insider Show here on Woodward Sports Network. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, Terry Foster, your Lions Insiders, to give you the scoop 2 times a week, every week. Lions game days and Tuesdays following the game. We're back here 7 a.m. We'll be back here on Lions game day 8 a.m. to close out the regular season, which is wild.
I can't believe it's already week 18. Are you
I
kidding me?
refuse to believe it.
Well, yeah, when they go through 18 weeks, it ends at 18 weeks.
I know. Weird.
So funny how that works
Yeah.
like that. There's plenty to come though, because it's not just ending at week 18 for the Lions this year. So with it not ending at week 18, Matt, pointing this to Matt, Terry, and we'll see where he goes on this one. As of now, starters are going to be played, but do you think that members of the offensive line should be sat in this next game to preserve themselves for the playoffs, since the health of the offensive line has been here and there, and we know when the health is all there, they do play significantly better?
They do. I guess we can't say that they're undefeated now with the healthy offensive line. You made that question trickier when you just highlighted the offensive line. I think that because the game starts at 1 o'clock, I think you got to play your starters and you got to keep them in. You got to go for the win. You can't take your guys out. You can't get cute with this game, is what I'm trying to say. You need momentum going into the playoffs, but also the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, they play at 425. There's still a chance that you can get that 2 seed. And I think that's where the decision that Dan Campbell made is coming from. If you still have a chance to get the 2 seed, you got to do everything you can to go get it. And that's why I think you got to play your players.
They can't get the 2 seed.
Yeah, they can.
Can they?
If they win and both Philly and Dallas loses,
That's not happening.
it's a very small possibility. They play the Giants. Philly plays the Giants in New York, and the Cowboys play the Commanders. Very.
Commanders should be a homecoming team. They should have homecoming in the National Football League, and then the Commanders are the team you get to play.
Yeah, they're totally checked out.
Well, I guess we got our answer from him. He's doubled down, tripled down on not resting players.
Yeah.
Still wimpy, Matt?
I think so, especially if you're going to play golf. And I just saw it in the chat. Chuck Brewer says you sit the offensive line, then you got to sit golf. I do think if there's an opportunity, they get some time in for Teddy Two Gloves, Mr. Teddy Bridgewater, knowing he's going to retire. But as long as that game's within reach, Dan Campbell's not messing around with this season.
Yeah, and Dan Campbell's already said that he's going for the gusto. He's all fired up, and he wants to just do it. I'm going to disagree with you on one thing. There's no such thing as momentum between games. Just because you win a game doesn't mean you're going to play well the next game or win the next game.
Yeah.
My philosophy, all these games are individual chapters, and they all play out differently. A lot of times I'd rather play a team that loses than a team that won the previous week, because they're going to be all fired up, and they listen to the game plan a little bit closer, and so I just don't believe in the momentum thing.
Okay.
I think it's crap.
We
Fair.
can't close out the show without touching on the controversial call one more time. Will this lead to a rule change?
Of course it will. They will come up with a thing where you have to say, "Hey, ref!" Bam! You gotta bang your chest, or you're gonna have to raise a flag to say, "I'm eligible."
It's weird. You can't be too deceptive in a league that the ultimate goal is to deceive the defense, to deceive the offense.
But the defense finds out anyway. The ref goes over and tells the defense, "Hey, number 68 is eligible. Number 70 is eligible." So it's not like you can, surprise them. They know what's coming. But they should have an entire Detroit Lions got screwed rule book.
Yeah.
You have the Calvin Johnson catch in there. You have this in there. There's a bunch of stuff that's happened with the Lions that they've changed the rules. They just have a Detroit Lions. We messed it up once, but we're going to get it right the next time.
Yeah.
Rule book.
Definitely. The Decker rule will be this one.
I like it.
But that I know we're revving up here. That it was run so perfect, knowing that the defense is gonna be alerted who's eligible. That's what makes it even better. The fact that they had the thought, you not only have to establish it with Dan Skipper reporting eligible earlier in the game, and mostly throughout the rest of the season. He actually only did it once in this Dallas game, but the film shows him all season. This is what Skipper does. You have him running on at the same time. Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker are running to the referee. Penei Sewell wears number 58. Decker wears 68. These are deliberate moves by Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell to make it hard for the defense or to distract them just slightly, make it that
Just
much
enough.
little bit confusing. Not the referees, the defense. That's why you meet with the refs.
Distract.
Yes,
They set
triple
this play,
D's.
They set this play up weeks earlier.
Yes,
Like doing
yes.
stuff like this, and so
Which
They
is
should
sad
be
to see
rewarded.
it almost go to waste.
Yes, it did.
With
It's gone.
so
It's
much
wasted.
going into it.
Wasted.
But is it wasted? Because will this loss?
I see where you going with that?
Will this loss give the Lions the grit that they thrive off of to make a run in the playoffs?
they're a better team when they feel like they've been screwed.
Yeah.
They're a better team when they have laid an egg on the field. So I think the Lions are more dangerous than they were before this game. They're more dangerous because Dan Campbell's already tap dancing and screaming and saying we're going to be better and everything. I have to believe that locker room is on edge. Say, look what they did to us.
I couldn't agree with you more.
If somebody doesn't believe in Detroit versus everybody in that locker room, they do now.
Could not agree more.
Yeah.
I think that is the perfect way to end the show.
Yes.
Detroit versus everybody.
Like they said in Major League, this is from our guy Freddie Felt 313 in the chat. They only
Yeah.
got one choice now. Win the whole thing.
There you go.
Let's go. I think they're going to the Super Bowl.
Whoa. Will they be able to do it?
I do.
We're going to find out. They'll get one step closer next week. We will be right here on Sunday morning, 8 a.m., to kick off your Lions game day. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, Terry Foster. This is Woodward and Main Street. Have a great Tuesday.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.